Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's time for another episode here of Leeds United Latest with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever, Mr. Jason Booker. Get a like on the video, get your comments in, and also get subscribed to the channel. Lots and lots to talk about. We're going to look ahead to the Everton game. There's been a nice little bit of PR around Brendan Aronson this week, but we can't start anywhere else other than some movement on the Strand Larsson situation. And as Beren Cross puts here, Leeds United have made a formal bid for Strand Larsson as per Mike McGrath. Wolves sources indicate a bid was rejected earlier this week. Leeds not commenting on the deal, but it's expected that the Whites are going to move back in. Jason, hello first. But yeah, this deal, it does seem to be kind of not going away. I mean, you never know with Leeds United in January. Obviously, we've been kind of cautious movers in the past and all that kind of thing. But it feels like we're sensing an opportunity with this player who's at a team that are most likely going to be relegated, fits the profile on the pitch, physicality, striker, that kind of thing. And it seems like there's an opportunity to make this happen. Obviously, it's well known that his agent's a Leeds fan, goes to Leeds games, so I'm sure a deal wouldn't be hard to broker at that level between agent and player. But this one is not going away, is it, Jane? And are you expecting it to get done, or where's your thoughts on it now? Do you think we'll get this one over the line?
I just have this gut feeling that we will. I don't know why I could be confident, not for any reason other than just gut feeling. The fact that we were linked with it so heavily, so quickly in the month, like it's not towards the end, like right towards the end of the month. This has been kind of gathering pace for a while. It makes a lot of sense in terms of his progression. You know, it was linked heavily with Newcastle in the summer until they obviously made the signings that they did. He signed the contract. Wolves then carried on the form that they were on. And he's now clearly in a position where, not that he's down tools, but he's not getting played there because they know he's not the future. They know he's not going to be there come the end of the season in the Championship. You know, the big lad that they've got to forget his name now, and then Mara, the new kid that's kind of rocking it over there, they're getting played. So it's a real opportunistic moment for a team like Leeds. And I think the reason that we've probably seen this bid go in today is obviously there's been developments with Crystal Palace and Mateta. I think that is going to be where this deal will fall or not for Leeds. I think he will end up at Leeds if they don't sell Mateta quickly enough or at all. You know, if Mateta ends up seeing January out still at Palace, I would imagine that Strand Larsson will end up at Leeds. Yeah. If Mateta, you know, the pace gains and he either goes to Villa or he goes to Juventus as he's been linked, I can imagine that Strand Larsson would be the perfect kind of upgrade or side move there for them. Suits their style of play as well, and you know, and they are more established than us. That would be a better move for him than Leeds probably right now, even though there's not that much difference in the league table, and Palace are a little bit all over. You know, Glasner leaving end of the season and all of what, but they'll be able to offer, I would imagine, a more secure financial package than we would. So it's an interesting one. And you know, there's a case as well that he's more guaranteed a start at Palace without Mateta than he is at Leeds with what we've got. Because, you know, the facts are is he goes into Palace against Nketiah and Uche, who are both championship level strikers. He comes into Leeds and he's competing with probably the most informed English striker in the world outside of Harry Kane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which is mental. And Lucas Metri's played really well. Noah Okafor, no Daniel Farke likes him. He's probably got more competition for places at Leeds than he has at Palace. So it's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. I know Forest have been kind of linked as well, but they're linked with so many different strikers. There's so much going on that I don't see him ending up there, if I'm honest.
We've seen the deal they're doing for the Lazio player as well. I think he's only scored 2 goals.
Luca.
Yeah, they're doing a loan, and it's going to be 40 million in the summer. It seems a bit of a mad one. Yeah, you make some great points. It's waiting for these dominoes to fall into place. I think West Ham look out of it now. I think they're retaining Callum Wilson. After we're all wondering, I thought he left. What's going on?
My lad told me that Callum Wilson had gone, and I'm like, is that a kid? Like, is he a kid called Callum Wilson at West Ham? Because he had been released. Like, that was it reported. He's been released and then he scored like a few days later.
Regen. Yeah. So, yeah, West Ham kind of looked done in that department. Crystal Palace is fascinating one. Absolutely. Mateta, who is, I mean, God, if you're a Crystal Palace fan, Jay, yeah, you know, you've had the FA Cup win in the summer. You're absolutely buzzing. But, I mean, they've taken some big hits since they kicked out of the Europa League. Your manager's leaving. Gay's leaving. Bloody, Mateta now is...
Eze left in the summer as well.
I mean, honestly, it's an absolute mess. But I think that when you weigh up the situation, that looks like the key one. If Mateta does leave, like you say, Strand Larsson, perfect to go in there. And also, like you say, that competition at Leeds. If you're a player like Strand Larsson, you're 25 years of age. If you're looking at that Leeds team and you're kind of looking at what minutes are you going to get, I mean, how's that going to factor in? Because I know we've kind of, this 3-5-2 thing has come about with Leeds, but we've not actually seen Calvert-Lewin and, let's say, Nemecha paired as two out-and-out strikers since the Chelsea game. Yeah, I know injuries have taken into effect in that, but Farke now seems to have gone back to wanting kind of Okafor there, Aronson there, that kind of thing. Do you think he'll have question marks about that side of it as well? Or is it better to go into a team that looks as if it's kind of on the up a little bit rather than Palace, which looks a little bit like the Titanic at the minute?
There's definitely an argument for it, and I think he'd really suit the situation. I think the group's really good. The group is a really strong, tight-knit group that's well together. The manager's secure. The club feels very secure and grounded right now, whereas Palace feels a bit crazy. And you could argue the same for... Palace are a bit crazy, Forest are a bit crazy, West Ham are a bit crazy, and Wolves, obviously, the environment that he's come from, they've been a bit mad as well. So I think it'd probably be something that he would enjoy. Obviously, the agent factor, I think it probably makes 5% different. I think there's a little sprinkling of added gold dust in our direction for that, so I can see why that would be beneficial. I think he'd back himself as well. I think he'd back himself to come in and do the job. I'm really surprised to see that he stayed in the summer, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how that all kind of panned out in the way that it did. I would imagine they would put him on a massive whopper contract. Look, we've lost the first 5 games of the season. This season's looking rough. But Newcastle, obviously, we can't lose you as well. We've lost everybody else. It is 150 grand a week. Whatever that looks like, or maybe it's a little bit less, but in terms of the perspective of Wolves' wage budget, massive in comparison to everybody else, we'll make you the highest earner. And if we're relegated, because, things are not looking good, if it doesn't turn around, here's your relegation release clause of 25 million quid. I reckon it's really low. They were talking about 60 million in the summer. I reckon it's between 20 and 30 tops. And I think they're now in a situation where they're like, right, do we make the move now to get rid of him and make a little bit more? The value in him at 40 million quid, I think that's fair, if I'm honest. Some people have been saying that that's overinflated. I don't. He scored a lot of goals last season. He's shown that he's capable at Premier League level in a poor team last season as well. He basically kept Wolves up last season. He's not played a lot this season, and Wolves have been all over the place. He's lost £20 million worth of his valuation in 6 months. Yeah. That's a lot. So I'd say I reckon Leeds will be able to get this deal done between 35 and 40 million. And they'll have to put a relegation release clause in that as well. They will. So, they're going to have to protect that probably at 30 million, and we'd maybe have to take a bit of a loss if we went down, because you can't then keep him in the Championship, not with the wages that he'll be on and the transfer fee. Because of the PSR situation, we're finally balanced. If we're in the Premier League again, we can afford to pay 40 million right now. The problem is that we might not be. So it's how you balance that gamble, innit?
Yeah, as long as it's not a relegation loan clause.
Let's not go there.
It's fascinating as well, because I know some people have been saying, could a bidding war ensue? And I guess that's what Wolves are hoping and praying for. I agree with you, though. I think there's a low relegation release clause and they're desperate to get a deal done. There is some rumours, actually, that Wolves were offering him out basically around about the 15th of this month.
I honestly believe since Edwards has come in, maybe even a little bit before, I reckon the board have been saying to the managers, you can't play him. Don't play him. You need to look after the players that are going to be here next season. You need to start building, and we need to start thinking of a plan around this, because once they got to game week 10 and they'd lost 10 from 10 or whatever it was, they have to start factoring in a plan for next season. Yeah. And they can't be in a position where they're not ready in January to then not sell him. Because I think you'll be talking about 30 million quid. 25 to 30 million quid is the difference, in where you're going to be sat.
Yeah, and we put ourselves in that conversation by how we've performed and where we are in the league as well. 8 points above the bottom three. I mean, that's the difference as well, isn't it, Jay? What you can do in January. I mean, does Buonanotte want to rock up again? Potentially, you know, he got relegated with Leicester previous season. He won't want that again. And it just makes a huge difference, doesn't it, when you're showing that you're competitive and you can really start to convince these players that, you know, Ellen Road is a place to go.
Well, as a striker right now, you'd want to be part of this team.
Yeah.
You know, Calvert-Lewin scored 9 goals this season. He were able to score in what it's 6 or 7 straight in the end. I can't remember if it was 6 or 7. You know, you can't do that unless you're creating chances. You can't do that unless you're actually in games. And you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin won December Player of the Month in a team that is currently 16th. And in that period of time, we played 8 of the top 10 or something like that, something daft. Like, you know, the run was what it was. So as an attractive proposition, you're looking as a Strand Larsson to think, yeah, this is a project I'd quite like to be a part of, I reckon.
We can do this. Let's get to some of your comments. Thank you for those. Keep them coming in. Gav, our initial JSL bid turned down by Wolves, talk of 26 million. Do you think, I mean, obviously you're not going to bid your maximum immediately, and it's going to be a bit of negotiating, a bit of figuring out. That would seem on the low side, you know, compared to what we've heard. Certainly, like you say, maybe another 10 needs sticking on that or something.
Standard, it's standard, isn't it? It's standard kind of bidding situation and transfer negotiations. They look like this. Like, you're never going to go in at the price that they want unless there's a release clause and you think we're just going to meet that release clause. There's always some sort of bidding situation, but I reckon it'll be around 35 million.
That'll get it done, yeah. Skip, unfortunately, in modern football, you have to factor in to your business model the possibility of relegation or losing players bigger to Champions League clubs. Absolutely. What about the Norwegian factor then, Jay? Obviously, him and his agent, Norwegian, we know that Leeds United, we've kind of got a special kind of relationship bond, whatever you want to call it, with Norway. We remember some of the players we've had, you know, Ellen Road, Haaland and Bakker, you know, we've had some, you know, there's a big Norwegian contingent that support Leeds, follow Leeds. I remember when I went to the hospitality, I think probably a couple of years ago now, that my missus got me. And we sat on a table, you know, when you're on the table in the hospitality bit, and it was full of Norwegians. Every single one around the table was a Norwegian, and they used to fly in all the time. And you just wonder, with that kind of backing and support, I mean, it'd be nice to get it done and have a real kind of someone to back on the pitch, wouldn't they? One of their own.
100%. I think Scandinavia as a whole, not just Norway. You know, we've had a few, haven't we? We had Robert Molinar. We had, I remember when Gylfi Einarsson signed in the Championship. He ended up not going on to do great, but he was from Iceland, and for whatever reason, we kind of gravitated towards them. They felt like one of our own. So I definitely resonate with that. You know, people think of Eric Bakker so fondly, yet really he spent most of his time out at Leeds injured. But we remember him as a bit of a kind of a cult hero, don't we? It's definitely a factor. I think he will be aware of that. I think the agent again situation will have made him aware of that. And we know, don't we, that the Nordics they love travelling over to Leeds. We see it a fair bit, don't we? That they come and they'll travel X amount of miles to come and see X game. And yeah, it's class, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's similar to the kind of thing that we have with in the Irish kind of contingent as well. You know, when we had Ian Hart and Gary Kelly and a few of the others, obviously we had O'Leary as the manager, and there was an Irish flavour. Stephen McPhail were part of that team as well. It's similar to that. So yeah, it'd be nice. It's an exciting signing. I can't lie. It's one that gets us really, really excited, doesn't it? So.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely agree completely. Interesting one that Gaz brought up here about Charlie Cresswell as well. Toulouse have turned down 23 million euros from Wolfsburg, saying they want 30 million. So our 15% increases. You've answered Skip's question there. Do we have a sell-on clause for Cresswell? That'd be a nice bit of money in the bank. It's interesting with Charlie Cresswell, isn't it, as well? I mean, if he goes on to get a move like that, a big move for him. And look, it's money in our pocket, and that's kind of the power of a 15% sell-on clause that we're good. And to be honest, I know there's some people that are crowing about how he should have still been here and he could have done X, Y, and Z. I just think Premier League's a different beast, and I think there's nothing wrong with how his career has worked out. Look, he didn't play that season that he had under Farke at all, hardly. And and he's gone on to do really well. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. We're going to get a little piece of that pie going forward if he gets his big move. And fair play to him. I hope he absolutely smashes it at Wolfsburg if he gets that move.
Sometimes these things happen. How many players go off from X team, reinvent themselves at Y team, and then get a bigger move back? Like, this has happened time and time again. And Leeds are always going to be susceptible to that happening. We're not side from natural courses of things taking the place. And if I look back in time, would I have given Charlie Cresswell any more game time? No, I wouldn't. I genuinely wouldn't have done. Every opportunity he got, he was poor. Overall, people hark back to the West Ham game like 5 years ago when he marked Mikel Antonio pretty well and then was at fault for the goal that ended up losing us the game in the last minute. And people just ignore that because he had an okay game. Like, he weren't amazing. He weren't. Like, he's got a reputation because he was very well thought of at the under-21s. He was thought of well at England under-21s. The reality is that we've always had better centre-backs.
Yeah.
Always. There were a period of time maybe when Pascal got injured and Ampadu were in the back line that you'd have been like, Charlie would have played a lot of game time here. But, he didn't. And then he's gone on. Ligue 1's, like you said, it's a different beast. The French division, we don't really know how good he is yet. And then he's going to Wolfsburg, if that's the move that he takes. That's not him coming back and signing for whoever, Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, even a Villa. Like, that's not him getting that kind of move. It's still a sidewards-ish move for a Wolfsburg team that will probably hoping to be between 4th and 8th in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
We've just got to be careful that we don't make this something that it's not. Like, sometimes this is going to happen, and sometimes they're going to develop on. And good luck to him. I hope he smashes it.
Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere on the transfer front, then, we have made a signing. The arrival of Leonard Ngenge, 18-year-old centre-back. He's got 2 senior caps with Nigeria. He'll start with the under-21s and go from there. He's got a contract until June 2027. Interesting one. I briefly kind of had a chat with you about it before we went on air, and looks good on paper, sounds like a lot of potential. Interested to see how his development will go. Obviously, it's a key kind of age group as well, because like I mentioned before we started, that 18 to 21, we need to start having some more potential in that area, players who can potentially be first team players, as we progress, because we haven't got many coming through at the minute. But then you look at the Diego Montero situation for a few years ago, where we signed this high prospect, young, I don't know if he was a similar age, 18 or so when we signed him, didn't really materialise in the end. But we'll wait and see. I mean, by all accounts, it sounds as if, he's on Football Manager, I think potential wonder kid might be his tagline. 2 caps for his country already, which is phenomenal at his age. One to watch out for, Jay.
Yeah, and we're still ahead of Brentford to get it as well. And Brentford are really smart with their recruitment. Their Moneyball approach is kind of dictated around signing players for pittance and then taking them on and building their value up. So it looks like we've kind of still in and been clever here. Making 2 senior, like Nigeria are not the force that they used to be. They've had some far better teams and generations of talent than they've currently got right now. However, when you're a young player, if you're in an attacking position, you can kind of gamble as a manager and as a team to throw kids in there. As a defender, you can't really do that because you kind of hope that you need more experience back there. You need more game awareness in the back line. And the fact that he's made 2 senior appearances as a defender, I think actually says, it says a lot about him. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that develops. You're right. We need to start seeing some of them come through, whether they are homegrown or purchased, and then we develop them from 17, 18, 19 into first team players, because you can't keep on just recruiting for the first team continuously. You need some of your own. It's probably a great time to kind of bring up Harry Gray, and people are already flapping and wagging their gums about this situation. He's had 1 game and he didn't play very well, but this is exactly why some of us with a little bit more of a smarter realization on the reality of playing Premier League football. We're saying like, no, he's not ready for Premier League football. The gap, people don't see it. Like they think that 21s to first team Premier League level, they think that gap's like not. They just don't realize how seismic it is. It's literally levels and levels and levels. It's like us as kind of like Sunday League kind of kickabout players going and playing against like League Two footballers. It genuinely that big. It's so big, you know, and so big. So they need to they need to just chill and let these players grow. But coming back to the point, if we don't start being able to develop them, we're not going to have anything for resale, and we're not going to have any of his own products coming through that then make the first team. Outside of Archie, we've not had anybody really be able to stake a claim on a first team spot in a long time. I mean, I can't even think of the last one before that, if I'm honest.
I mean, you worked at the club for a period of time as one of their scouts for youth products. How hard is it kind of creating that? Because obviously Leeds were probably, I mean, you know, you forget with Leeds as well. I mean, for 2 decades, we were, you know, in the Championship, even League One at points. And we know how kind of underfunded we were in certain areas. And, you know, it feels almost like we've lost 15, 16 years of being able to grab hold of the best players. And even when we have, you've got this beast called Man City. You've talked about it and how they just suck up everything. It's a real challenge, isn't it? And I think you bang on about Harry Gray as well. I think, look, he has to go out. He has to get mud on his boots. He has to get an elbow in the face. He has to really get to grips with it that side. This loan could be poor for him. He might come back at this and he's scored a couple of goals and performances haven't been great. It doesn't matter. It's money in the bank. It's an education. It's building up, isn't it? But, you know, I think developing players is something that's got to be at the forefront of the club's mind, because you're absolutely right. You can't just keep recruiting in, buying in. I mean, we've got nobody in that team, have we now at the minute? There's no homegrown players on that pitch, is there, week in, week out now? I think probably Strike does Strike come under the 18 to 20? It might just creep in, but apart from him, there's nothing else.
No, you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on, and it is really difficult. We basically, what's happened 2 years ago when I first went to the club, they'd just reformed the way that they were kind of then looking to recruit scouts and then pay them. You know, a lot of Championship football down, scouting is completely voluntary. I were very lucky to get a position that was paid to do work for Leeds United. That's not commonplace for most Championship teams. I promise you, it's not. Some chief scouts are not even paid. You know, there's a lot of volunteer and recruitment work that's done. And what's happened to Leeds United is since relegation from the Premier League, that has started going backwards and slowing down. When we got relegated to League One, we were then kind of cut adrift. The youth teams ended up getting relegated in the divisions. The 21s weren't playing top flight football anymore. So the 18, 19-year-olds were starting to move across to other teams before they were even then signing first team contracts and all that kind of stuff. And then that then bled into teams getting even more proactive at the top end of the Premier League. So Manchester City is a great example. Unfortunately, we kind of fall into their catchment. Now, Leeds as a whole wouldn't recruit from Manchester because they would say to the parents, look, it's too far for you to expect to be travelling to Thorpe Arch every week, so we wouldn't take you in. But Manchester City don't do that. Manchester City will recruit from Bradford, from Leeds, from, you know, Stockport, Oldham, anywhere that's within sort of, I would say, probably 50 miles. Which is massive. You think about that as a catchment area. And they have then, I call it farms. They have farms upon farms upon farms of just young players that will be developed. They're looked after by the managers. They get to 16-year-old. They're not good enough and they get binned off. That's the route that 98%, probably more, I bet it's probably 99 point something of the players. This is why I say when players get to 21 level, and fans instantly start calling for them to be in the first team, you don't realise just how many of them will never play a first team football game. Like, the number is unimaginable. You know what I mean? In terms of the kids that, and then you're lucky if they even find their way into the system. You know, are they going to even play non-league, national level, National League North, regional division? Are they even going to play at that level? Some of them are not even good enough for that, Brownie. I promise you, once they start playing men's football, they're not. Because at youth level, they get taught the game plays a little. It's a little bit like an amateur boxer in comparison to a pro boxer.
Yeah,
like the level, they're not the same. They're a different game. You know, when you go and watch an under-21s football game, it's a bit boring, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
the patterns of play are very boring. So it's super interesting, but it's something that most fans just can't even kind of comprehend, really. And when you're around Manchester United, Manchester City especially, they just hoover them up. So then you're left with the players that are considered not good enough for the top flight, and you have to try and develop them. And don't get me wrong, there's some real talented kids. They're unbelievably good. But, you know, I did that work for nearly a year, and I spent that year speaking to parents, speaking to coaches, speaking to the kids, and most of them were already signed by a team that were beyond us. So what do you do?
No, exactly. No, it's absolutely fascinating. And, you know, maybe as we grow as a club, maybe some will start picking Leeds instead. We hope, fingers crossed.
Well, that's the pathway that you sell. You know, for a player that's maybe at Man City, look, you know, the likelihood of first team opportunities there are limited. We can offer you a better product and a guideline with, you know, this direction. We've got, you know, let's just say, for example, we grow an affiliate with York. We've got York, where we can send you out on loan, so you're going to play national level, top end of the table football there. They might even get into League Two. You know what I mean? Like, you can start doing that. You can start building relationships with Bradford again. We used to send players to Bradford on loan quite a bit. That'd be great if they were, you know, hopefully we get promoted this season, but more if they were in League One. That'd be a great step for them. You know, if Bradford don't go up this season, as an example, Harry Gray going to Bradford next season would be brilliant. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that we need to start building that, because without that, you cannot thrust them straight into first team football at Premier League level, Brian. They will be mullered and their confidence will never recover.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Let's go through some of the comments that are coming in. That's an interesting one. Andy Robertson to Spurs. Blimey.
Very interesting.
Wouldn't have expected that. Skip with a question here. Would you say we have any irreplaceable players for us? Jay, if you're looking at that squad at the minute, who for you is irreplaceable, would you say? I'll caveat that with as well. Who would you be, even if a mega bid came in the summer, you will be turning it down? Are we in a position to turn any mega bid down, do you think? Or is everyone got a price?
I think everybody's got a price. I think, like, it depends on what you're asking me, because if you're saying without a replacement, I'd say Calvert-Lewin is probably irreplaceable for us right now. And the one, whether we'd get a replacement or not, instantly wouldn't be possible to replace him, would be Ampadu. Because of just the leadership and the quality that he brings. I mean, his quality is just developing and building and growing. I mean, he got man of the match again the other day in the Fulham game. He's been a real leader through this run that we've had. He would be almost impossible to replace immediately. You would have to build somebody into that role within the team again, unless you could maybe go out and get somebody like Lewis Cook, you know, who would get it, instantly come in, super experienced, super talented. I know he's not Ethan Ampadu out and out in terms of maybe the physicality, but he would replace a lot of what I'm talking about that you would struggle to replace with Ampadu. But yeah, I would say Ampadu is probably irreplaceable in this window, personally.
Yeah. Gav, following up, Peru seems to be digging his heels in about moving, etc. I know he did there was an interview in Holland, I think, that he did, and he's not looking to kind of go anywhere. I mean, if the Strand Larsson deal happens, I mean, you do worry for Peru in terms of, I mean, you know, he's already getting limited minutes, and, you know, that's not going to improve, is it, if you get another striker in the door?
I don't have any problem with this. I really don't. A lot of fans are like, "Oh, do the decent thing, Joel, and move." Like,
yeah, I don't.
No. Like, we are so fickle as football fans. We sit here and we say, "Oh, no loyalty in football." Like, and then this poor lad, like, fine. The club are saying that he's not going to be a first team player. He's not good enough. However you kind of want to put that. But if he has made the decision until the summer that he wants to fight for his place. He's got a contract with Leeds United. He should absolutely be deserving of the right to kind of stick to that and fight with it. Just like we would say, if he were coming out and handing a transfer request in and we were saying no, you'd back the club, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. The club would want to sell him, but he said, look, I'm not prepared to leave in this window. I don't blame players for not wanting to leave in January, if I'm honest. It must be an awful time of the year to move and try and resettle in and get into the side and all the rest of it. Why would he want to go to Wolves?
Yeah.
Wolves are an absolute mess. So no. I have no kind of. If we sign Strand Larsson, it's going to be next to impossible for Perot to probably even make the bench, mate. Given the squad options that we've got, but that's on him to make that decision. As long as he's not disrupting the dressing room, which I'm sure he's not, because Daniel Farke will deal with that if he were. He won't be making the squad now if he were doing that anyway. You'll get bombed off at 21s if he starts disrupting stuff. As long as he's not doing that, I think fair enough.
Yeah, totally agree. Want to caveat Tom's question here by saying Farke in the press conference yesterday hinted at Gabby Gudmundsson with an abductor issue, and it's 50-50 about the Everton game on Monday. So following that up, Tom asks, morning all, do you think we have a priority position to fill this window? Now, that left wing back position, we have no natural replacement for Gabby there. On the other side, yes, Bogle and Justin are identical players, but very, you're comfortable if Bogle's out, Justin can do a job. On the other side, Jay, that left-hand side, if Gabby's not there, what do you do? And is that a position that you will be looking at as a priority to get filled this transfer window? Where do you stand on it?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because Gabby's such a first-team player. He's undroppable almost, isn't he, at times? He's so good. I think Justin, Monday will end up being Justin at left-back if Gabby doesn't make it. We've seen him be capable out there. It's just then you've got one player covering two positions. It leaves you a little bit exposed if there's injuries and whatnot. It's a funny one because you've got to be careful with the squad build and what you do with that. You had Jack Aronson who could kind of fit in there if you really, really needed. That's what we had before. Now you have Sam Byram who can fit in there if you really, really needed, and that feels a bit precarious, doesn't it? So, I think maybe, I don't think it's something they'll act on this window. I personally think the priority positions are the ones that we're looking at in centre-back and striker. Said that since I think both of them positions were arguably more needed than Buonanotte. And we went and did that one before. I think Buonanotte was an out-and-out replacement for Jack Aronson personally. Even though Buonanotte is more central because of the way that we play, I think he can fill the same roles. So I would, if I had to say, right, this is the squad that you've got, nobody's going to leave. Between now and the end of the window, you get to make one signing. I would actually go off centre-back more than striker because I think we survive with these four strikers. I think there could be a moment between now and the end of the season where you've got Bornau injured, Pascal injured, and you want to play three at the back, and that would be then a real problem. You're then either sacrificing Ampadu into the midfield and losing him in midfield, or you're changing formation. You're forced into playing four at the back. And I don't want us to do that because I think at the minute, one of the things that's making us so hard to play against is we are so fluid between the three at the back and the four at the back. So, I'd say centre-back, but I really want Strand Larsson. Just
let's get the exciting one done. Come on. Moving on then, away from transfers, do want to have a mention about Brendan Aronson. There was a bit of PR going around this week, a few articles flying around. He's been doing some interviews about his redemption arc at Leeds, and he does say that he loves the club, loves the fan base, and everything like that. He's delighted how well it's going. Says that obviously with himself, you always get the run in, the hard work, but now he's adding that quality in the final third as well. And, you did a video. We need to give a shout out to Jay's got his own channel as well, Straight Talking Leeds Fan. So get subscribed to him on YouTube and TikTok as well. You've done a great video there. Just talking a little bit about Brendan Aronson. And it's kind of nice for us because we've always backed him, haven't we, from the minute he kind of came back through the door. And it's nice to kind of be justified in that, I guess. But he's at a point now where, for me, he's the real bright spark in this team, and I think something about him as well that you don't get from a lot of players is someone who's willing to make something happen and always get on the ball and try and do something. I think that's a really underappreciated asset in a player. I think there's a lot of players, we've had them at Leeds, that go hiding, and it's like, for me, someone like Okafor should be wanting that ball, demanding that ball all the time and going at people, not to pick on him, but just saying, whereas Brendan always makes himself available, always wants something to happen. And I would just love to see this run of form continue to the end of the season, and, you know, that goodwill extend itself further.
There's been times where he's had 36,000 baying Leeds fans around him and he's still been prepared to get on the ball. Yeah. That's a mark of a proper man and player. You know, he won't go hiding even when it's going wrong, and he will keep on trying. And, you know, like with some players, you know, if they're not at it that day, they're going to just have a poor game. With Brendan, you always get the running. Always. Like, there's no miss, you know, and that must be a nightmare for opposition with and without the ball. Yeah. So I think he's been brilliant this season. I genuinely do. I think our performance has improved the second that he came into the team for Dan James early in the season. We started to pick up points and started to create more opportunities. I remember saying it to you. You know, Brendan's come in and all of a sudden we're creating goal. We were struggling to create chances earlier on in the season. He then was a huge part of being in the team through that run of undefeated games in December. You know, that it shouldn't be overlooked because sometimes he doesn't score or assist. And I would then argue his quality in terms of his final product, a bit like what we saw with Dan James, championship level with Farke's management, has started to improve. And this season, we've seen Brendan Aronson actually deliver. You know, and his assists, his goals are increasing. Not just the assists that then end in a goal, either the assists that are actually putting strikers and other players into position to score goals. They can't be ignored just because they end up not getting put in the back of the net. That he's done his job. I had a Leeds fan justify to me the other day that Leeds fans didn't give him grief the other day when he blazed one over against Fulham. Rightly so and all. They shouldn't be jumping all over him. Technically, he has deficiencies. People don't listen sometimes to what comes out. Like, I'm not saying he's Lionel Messi reincarnated. No. He's just a very good all-round Premier League player. You know, some people are still saying he's pony. Like, what are you watching? His first season in the Premier League has kind of tainted him then on the back of the loan move. He was poor in that first Premier League season, but I blame the club. I blame the club more than I blame him. The managements that we had, they overworking him. He played too many games. He weren't ready for the volume that he had. You know, he started the season very well. It was too soft and too slight. I think he has the right attitude. He is a slight player, but he gets back up and he works his nuts off to get the ball back. He never complains. I don't see him ever stay down, and in that first season he did do a bit of that. He felt sorry for himself. Now we don't. And when, you know, in that media piece, he said about loving the club and loving the fans. I remember when he came back, he said that he'd had the conversation with his granddad about, you know, making amends. I believe him. I absolutely believe his kind of narrative, and I'm right behind him. And I think he deserves so much credit. The guy played 46 games for us last season. You know, he started the season off by scoring the goal that equalised the game against Portsmouth. Yes, he missed an opportunity to win the game after that, but without Brendan Aronson, we don't even start the season off with a point that day.
No,
absolutely. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
I 100% agree. And Farke mentioned yesterday about Leeds being top of the league for running stats and how much effort, pressing, all that kind of stuff, and he's a huge part of that, absolutely massive part of that, and that leads to a bigger point as well in terms of, you know, this Leeds team, you know, they're running more than other teams. And that's very, you know, we remember that from Bielsa's first season, don't we, where you have to make up that disadvantage you've got in terms of sheer quality with a physical output. You know, and that points to the fact that hopefully as the squad improves over, you know, the coming seasons, you're not so reliant on that. But it also points to how much Farke is getting from this squad of players as well.
100%. Did you see the stats from the Newcastle game? We broke all the season records against Newcastle. Even though we ended up losing the game, the distance that we covered, the tackles, the duels that we won, all of the defensive metrics were like the top for the season so far. And I agree with you. And so much of that starts with Brendan. You know, when we lose possession and the ball's, let's just say, with their goalkeeper, it all starts with him. It sets the tempo to the way that everybody else engages. When you've got an attacker that's prepared to do that, you know, I spent years saying this about Patrick Bamford. You know, Bamford was brilliant at closing spaces and putting the press on, and he used to funnel the play. You used to see him, he'd do it with his body shape. He'd funnel the play into a certain area of the pitch, and that was instructional. Brendan Aronson does the same thing. So you see Brendan put press on, and the player then under pressure plays the ball into a certain area of the pitch. The fans don't see that is something that's been instigated by Leeds. They just see the opposition punt the ball into a certain area of the pitch. The ball gets turned over, and Brendan Aronson gets no praise for that. It'll be Gruev or Ampadu or Biol or Pascal or whoever picks the ball up. That turnover has started up the pitch. Yeah. You know, and that's why Bamford used to be so key in the way that we played.
Must be frustrating as a player not to, you know, the stuff that fans missing. You're like, yeah, but look what I'm doing, for God's sake.
Absolutely
agonising.
If I were a manager of a football team, there'd be absolutely no way I'd let them have socials. I'd be just like, stay off them. Let your PR people do them. Do not go anywhere near them.
No, absolutely. Don't let it get in your head. Moving on to Everton then, Jay. Huge game Monday night. We've got to wait for the weekend results, and then we get into it Monday against an Everton team. Slightly depleted Everton. The big news for them, Grealish out, which is always good because I remember the game back in August, and you know, as soon as he come onto the pitch, he's winning the free kicks in dangerous areas, and you're like, you can't. This guy's so good at winning fouls, it's ridiculous. But he's not going to be there Monday night. I know they've got Ndiaye back, I think. I don't know if he's going to make it Monday night or whatever, but I think Dewsbury Hall's still out as well, which is a key player. Everton at home, not great. Away, things seem to work a lot better for them. I personally am optimistic on this one. I fancy us to get an away win Monday night. I think it's set up nicely for us. The Gabby doubt is a little bit concerning because I'm not really sure what we do there. So hopefully he'll be fit and firing. But what are your thoughts going into that game Monday night, Jay?
As a standard Jay line, when you ask me this question, I take a point. Every week, especially when we come on for an away game. But I will always happily take a point. If we get to the end of that game, another point better off, I'd be like buzzing. I'd be absolutely buzzing. But I agree with you. I think it's there to be won. I think Everton are pretty comfortable in the position that they're in the table now. Not that then will make that so much easier, but could there be a little bit on the beach with injuries, with our kind of run? With one loss in 10 or whatever it is. We've been travelling far better. The away performances have been good. I think we've got the bit between us teeth, and I'd really fancy us. I think as long as we can stay structured and solid, keep them out for the first 20, 25 minutes. You don't want to concede early away from home. That's the big crutch. But I think we've hardly looked like even conceding a chance over more recent, outside of the Newcastle game. We've looked really, really secure. I mean, Fulham created nothing. No. You know, I watched the highlights a few times after the game, and the one moment that they kept on showing was the Darlow comes out, heads it, and then there were like a loft of it. It were about 6 yards wide. It wasn't even close.
Nothing, did there? Absolutely. No. I thought the exact same thing. It was like, wow, just look at that.
That was the one chance that they showed as a highlight for Fulham. So, yeah, I think it's there for us. And 3 points, I mean, would be massive. Yeah. West Ham will be looking at this and be like, right, surely Everton won't lose that game, so we've got opportunity to close the gap. Big opportunity for us. I'd love to see us win this and then go in front of a couple of them other ones, just to give a bit of it. There's this kind of like subliminal thing in my head. Because we're 16th, we feel close to the bottom three, whereas when we're maybe 13th, even though the points will be the same, it's not quite as if you've just got, you know what I mean? You've got more teams in the way, haven't you?
100% the same. In the relegation season, there was a point where we went up to like 13th in the league, but we were like a point outside the relegation zone. Yeah. But just psychologically, when you look at yourself 13th, it just feels better. Just quick comment is, Born Leeds, best Leeds chat on YouTube. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I think the Toffees might be underestimating us a little bit. Certainly from a fan point of view, I do. I'm subscribed to Toffee TV, and they were having a little chat about Leeds and saying they're a poor team and can't believe they look like they might survive this season. I'm thinking, you have not watched us recently, have you? If you're thinking that, so I love it. I hope they do underestimate us, and I hope we can turn up on Monday and turn them over. I really do.
I think we've been brilliant. It's not just because I'm biased. I think over this run, I think we've been genuinely really good.
Yeah.
We've been good to watch. We're fun to watch. We're not boring. We're not trying to just see games out. I think we control large parts of football matches, even against good teams.
Yeah.
I've been really, really happy with what I've seen. So,
me too. We've scored team goal of the season. That goal against Sunderland. You
Really
show me a
want
better team goal than that, and you won't find it. And this has helped as well. Premier League errors. Leeds have committed the fewest errors leading to goals in the Premier League this season. And like you say, when you're watching the highlights of some of these games, teams do not create chances against us, and we're not messing things up. I mean, can you imagine if you looked at that stat in the relegation season? We were making errors 3 and 4 times a game.
And Brownie, I mean, there's still some people out there that say that Daniel Farke can't coach his team. That is all coaching. Bear in mind, technically, we are one of the worst 5 teams in the division. I will keep on maintaining that until the end of the season because I think it's true. But structurally, tactically, we're not. We are probably, I would say, one of the best 6 or 7 teams in the division. I think we are coached so well.
Yeah,
what Farke's done this season has actually surpassed what I thought he was capable of doing. Genuinely.
Same, 100% the same. And it frustrated me post Fulham that there were some comments and people saying, why didn't we start in a more attacking lineup? Why is Farke so conservative? I'm like, oh my God, if you do that and we concede, we could be 2-0 down after 20 minutes. Game's over. What is the problem with building yourself into a game and winning how we did, where we control the game?
100%.
I'm at a loss. I mean, I just don't get it. I absolutely don't get it.
Can I just bring this one up from Tom? Because it's kind of on Farke. I know we've only got a couple of minutes. I don't think this is even comparable. I did want to bring it up because, I get it. It's kind of a decision which in fantasy land you have to make, but in reality would never would. But I think Farke, I personally think Farke for next season is really key. I don't know what you think with that, Brandon, but I think in terms of our continuation and continuity, building and establishing, I think Farke is really important for next season. I then think at the end of next season, depending on how much Farke develops, because he might develop as well, but then you look at the end of next season, you maybe say, right, okay, have we got the scope to go to that next level of manager? But it doesn't always work out like that. And I would love nothing more than Farke to show even more, take us from finishing 15th this season to finishing 10th next and stick with him. I would love that.
I 100% agree with that. I said similar on the Monday night show. I said, it's end of his 3rd year. He's achieved every single objective. The way we've improved through this season, the way he's handled it, I agree with you completely. If we stay up this season, we may even stay up comfortable at this rate. He gets that 4th season for me, no-brainer. You're not even looking for this guy, that guy. Why upset it? What you do is you just keep recruiting, give him better tools. Imagine what he can do with improved tools. And that's not to flag off the players now. I think they've done brilliantly. And they've got development time. They may get better. But why would you upset that rhythm?
I agree. The thing is as well, Brian, the reputation and the narrative will start to change. If he keeps us up this season, the Norwich seasons are gone. They're done. Yes. Because he's then a Premier League manager that's established and kept a team up, which is really, really hard to do, by the way. So he can then start building with a fair kind of baseline from the fans. Because even the ones that were in staunch defence were a bit unsure. Because you don't know, do you? You don't know at Premier League level. We had nothing to base it off. We could only base it off a feeling based on what we'd seen at Championship level. He's every bit a Premier League manager. Marco Silva, as an example, is somebody that most Leeds fans, when we were going through the bad run, would say, right, Fulham are going to sack him. Yeah, get Marco Silva and over Daniel Farke. I remember me and you had a conversation about it because he were wobbling at the time. And he completely schooled him last week. Completely schooled him. Played him off the pitch.
Time it's happened where the managers commented, and managers, they don't want to give any kind of credit to the opposition really, but it's happened to Iriola. Said it earlier in the season. So many have said it about the job that Farke's done. We're going to have to leave it there, guys. It's been absolutely fascinating. Really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for everyone who commented on the video. Please make sure you pop in your likes on the video as well, and you subscribe to the channel if not. And get the word around about the show. Myself and Jay will be back post Everton to give our thoughts on that game game as well. So take care, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. I've been Stephen Brown, with me, Jason Booker. Jason, thank you, mate.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.